everybody, it's Allie, and welcome to our Y&R chat for Sunday, November 19th, 2017. You guys are not going to believe the phrase that's about to come out of my mouth. I actually can't believe that I'm getting ready to say this, but I loved watching Zach this week. I mean, those scenes on Friday at the hotel, those were the best scenes that I've seen on Y&R in the past 3 weeks. I just felt like this actor was finally given his chance to shine, and his performance was awesome. I loved the body language that he was using, wielding the gun around and just seeming obviously unhinged, and yet it was nuanced. There was just so many emotions coming out of him, and most of them were insane, and I was drawn into it. I was riveted by him. I got the feeling from Zach that he was maniacal yet oddly vulnerable in his love for Abby, and that's something that I haven't gotten up until this point. So I want more of that. I want more of this Zach. It just reminded me in a way of a young adult Adam when he was, it was early in his Adaming, like in a Michael Mooney sort of way. I know that's probably sacrilege to a lot of Adam fans, but I got that vibe out of him, that evil sort of, or menacing vibe, yet something vulnerable that makes you interested and drawn into the character. It is such a shame to me that there is no way we're going to get to keep him. He is on his way out right as I'm really starting to enjoy him, but I am so thoroughly looking forward to anything and everything having to do with Zach next week. Really, the whole interaction through the week between Abby and Zach was very good, and Zach revealing to her that he is not who she thought he was. After Zach whisked Abby down the elevator on last Friday's cliffhanger, he takes her downstairs into his flashy red car, and they speed off down the road to an unknown location, creating this real sense of danger for her. And she's just learned, or she's at least just been tipped off about the fact that Design Date is being used as a front for a sex ring operation. And at first, Zach is trying to cover his tracks by lying about Crystal's allegations at the party. He says that he ran some restaurants in Chicago, and that, and then when she started to tell him she didn't believe him, he admitted that it was massage parlors, and he was trying really hard to not tell her the truth, and you could tell that she wanted really badly to believe him. She did not want to think that this guy who she is falling in love with, who she has moved into her house, is capable of doing something so vile, but she doesn't believe him. She knows there's that voice in the back of her head that's telling her something is off. Something has always been off with this guy, and vaguely throughout the course of the conversation, Zach was admitting that okay, more went on than just massage parlors. He didn't come right out and say it, that he was operating this sex ring. She found that out later through finding some proof, but he didn't come right out and tell her. He had like the same twisted logic about it that Alice had, where he said, yeah, I ran these massage parlors, and yeah, maybe there was more going on, but I knew at the end of the day that I was at least helping these girls to, make sure that they had, money and whatever. He had like the same I'm helping the girls mentality that Alice had. I don't know if we're ever going to see Alice again, by the way, but I thought that was interesting. He probably manipulated Alice in with that mentality. He also went on to give his song and dance to Abby about how everything he did was just intended to make enough money to lift himself up out of his dark childhood and his dark life and make a better life for himself so that ultimately he could go legit and then become a better man, the kind of man who Abby is worthy of. So he had a really good, he tried his very best to spin it as much as he could, but he then, as she's continuing to not buy it, starts to play this weird psychologically twisted game with her, which I found also very compelling, where he starts to tell her that, you know, you and me just need to get out of this town together. You know, come with me. I'm the only one who really understands you. Your family doesn't even understand you. Your family doesn't support you. Look what your father just did, appointing Victoria the COO. Look at how Victoria treated you and tried to humiliate you. I've always treated you so well. So choose me over your family. It was like this really sadistic way of getting into her mind, trying to make her doubt the one she loved, which is probably the type of manipulation that he used to rope these young women into this sex ring. And he was doing it right there in front of our eyes with Abby. And of course, she doesn't believe him. She's strong enough to not believe him. But I think that those words really hit home for her. And I think that they might linger in her mind a little longer than she'd like them to. Zach pulls over at his storage locker on the off of the highway, which Abby follows him along to the storage locker and willingly walks right on into. I mean, they're like having this argument and this whole conversation inside of his storage locker, and I'm like, girl, you need to take some self-defense course 101. Never walk into a psycho's storage locker. Bad idea. I'm gonna let everything else slide. Right here in this moment, even allowing yourself into that vulnerable position is insane. Just absolutely insane. And as Abby and Zach are arguing inside the box, him trying to make his case about why he loves her and why she should come with him, and her saying in return, I can't trust you now. I can't believe this. How could I be so foolish? Scott shows up. Scott just shows up right at the storage locker door. He can't get help from the cops. He's onto this whole thing, but he can't get help from the cops due to the cell phone reception. I mean, once again, the cops are completely uninvolved in this entire sex ring operation. Paul had Crystal. He had Alice. These people could have easily identified Zach. Zach could have been arrested if we would have been keeping Paul in the loop. But no, Scott goes rogue. He does his very best to find Abby. He does. And, he comes in on the argument that Abby and Zach are having. And when she takes Scott's side, telling Zach that she's not going anywhere with him, Zach pretty much shoves them both inside of the box, slams the door shut, and runs away, like pulling up his collar, and like runs away from both of them, leaving them trapped inside of the storage locker together. And that's when the real fun begins. Oh, I immediately was like, this is not good. Y'all could die in here. I mean, no food, no water, no way out. And it definitely felt dire, but it was strange. Abby is inside the locker thinking about everything that's just, like, basically thinking about how her boyfriend duped her and kind of going on about it. Like, she feels like a fool. She feels responsible for all of this mess, including them being trapped inside the storage locker. But I guess I was looking for a little more intensity from her. I got more of a like a whiny vibe from Abby than I did a dire vibe. I really would have liked to have felt Abby's realization that we are in trouble here. Cause Scott, on the other hand, kind of made up for it in that way, because he starts having these, I don't know if you'd call it a flashback or whatever. He starts having these memories of when he was being held hostage and what it is actually like to be deprived of water and food and to not know if you're gonna live or die. And he is immediately drawn into the severity of the situation. That actor does a very good job with drama. I mean, just the look on his face as he's kind of collapsing in on himself, and you can just, almost see it. You can see the wheels turning behind his eyes. I think that Scott, the actor, did a really good job of portraying that. He really needed to be comforted, you guys. He was in a bad way. So Abby, she stepped in to comfort him the best way that, one knows how to do, by initiating desperation sex. It's very logical. I mean, that is a really good way to help someone feel comforted and to relieve the pressure. I mean, the whole "we're gonna die" sex session is just, it really helps alleviate the situation and allows you to think a little bit more clearly about how you're gonna get out of the mess. So what do you guys think about the Abby Scott sex sesh? I did think it was a little hot, not gonna lie. She leaned in first and kissed him, and just on a note, she initiated it. Okay, she went in for that kiss. He wasn't exactly resisting, but he was not like trying to kiss her. She's the one that was like, let's kiss. So she goes in for a kiss, and then it was kind of cut to commercial, and I think even come back the next day, and they had already done the deed. So we didn't really see much. I thought the kiss had some chemistry there, but we didn't really see much by way of, anything, like implying the sex in any way. I'm sure that some of that is probably due to the actress's pregnancy. I mean, there was a point where after they did the deed, they were both facing in opposite directions, and she rolls over to quip with him, and you could see that she was struggling a little bit to roll over. I don't know, I honed in on that moment because I was like, I've just been there recently. I know it's like you think you can move quicker than you can and you want to, but when you're pregnant, it's like, ugh. So she, that's probably why we didn't get to see the full bone down session. But I did think there were sparks there. I think there's potential there. I kept thinking about, I'm too into reality for my own good, because the entire time I kept thinking about how in reality that situation could not possibly be more unsexy. Trapped in a dirty box, like covered up with a dirty moving blanket. I mean, I don't know how long they were in there for. I am assuming it was at least overnight, but can you even imagine how bad your breath would be? And then there's the whole bathroom situation, or lack thereof. I'm just saying, it could not have been Wisconsin fresh in there. I really felt terrible that all the while Sharon is back in Genoa City worried sick about Scott. Nobody knows what happened to Abby and Scott. Nobody knows if they're safe or not, but Sharon has this sinking feeling that Scott would have contacted her if everything was okay. She's used to him checking in. They've been partners in trying to figure out this sex ring situation. So knowing that he is missing is really tearing her apart, and it has started to make her realize how much she really cares about him. This is a relationship that started out as just friends. It evolved to more, but there's always been an air of lightness about it. Like, let's take it slow, let's not be too serious. And now here Scott is potentially in danger, Sharon feels, and she's realizing maybe that she might love him. So I felt bad for Sharon knowing what was actually going on between Scott and Abby. I certainly don't think that Scott and Abby are going to jump right into a relationship or anything after all of this is over, because they went back to bickering after the sex without missing a beat. I mean, there was pretty much no afterglow of the sex whatsoever. They immediately, I think both were pretending that they resented each other, that it even happened, but of course we know that that's been building there for quite a while. I don't know what's gonna happen. I think it's a genie that cannot be put back in the bottle, and that's kind of sad for Sharon, really. I think that should be our poll question for the week. Would you rather see Scott and Abby confess their tryst, or would you rather see them just keep it a secret and keep things as the status quo? If you want to go to yrchat.com and vote, I don't know if that's going to be revealed or if there's going to be any movement on that next week. I'm assuming we're going to focus more on the drama of the situation. I don't think we're going to have a reveal on the tryst anytime immediately, but just in case, go to yrchat.com and get your vote in on that up top. And let me know. Would you rather see Abby and Scott confess it, put it out in the open, or do you think it's a secret better kept? Honestly, I am kind of into the idea that they would keep it a secret. I just think that it could be more interesting and fun to watch if Abby and Scott try to go on and pretend like it didn't happen, and yet maybe there's these longing looks and they find themselves drawn back to each other anyway. Although I just feel sad for Sharon, because that is a lie on her part. So I don't know, but Y&R has already assured us that the truth will not be coming out because Abby is pregnant. That's not gonna happen. It was almost as if Mal Young knew that the fans' heads were immediately gonna be spinning the second that Abby and Scott had sex, that she was gonna end up pregnant. And our heads were spinning. You know you were thinking that. The second you saw them having sex, I bet you thought, oh, she's gonna be pregnant. But no, Abby let us know and let Scott know that she's on birth control. So that's not where the storyline's headed potentially. And that kind of rules out possibly that she would be pregnant with Zach's baby. I know we were all kind of speculating that maybe she would end up pregnant, but I don't think that's gonna happen. Well, as Scott's anxiety continues to hit a fevered pitch, he's the only one that's really coming up with any good ideas for getting out of there. He decides, in kind of, I guess, a MacGyver way, I never would have guessed this, but I never would have come up with this. He starts a cell phone fire inside the box, which ignites the sprinkler system and ends up, I guess, disengaging the security and the electrical whatevers, and the door is able to be freed. I don't know how that works. It seems very, very dangerous to start a fire inside of an enclosed place that you're trapped in, and I don't know how that works with the security system, but apparently that got them out. Scott and Abby escape, and rather than going back to Genoa City for a shower, they decide to maintain the hot pursuit of Zach. They track him down to his hotel room. Abby's able to get a key, let her and Scott into the room. They're trying to toss it around, thrash it, find anything they can. And while they're in there, who should show up with a gun? Zach. Zach totally catches them. It is an epic showdown that I just really, really enjoyed. I thought it was so good. I mean, at first Zach is ready to kill them both, but then Abby plays her own little mind trick on Zach, telling him, oh, you know what? Actually, I'm here because I realized I was wrong to leave you. I still want to be together. I think we should leave together. She did a good job of convincing him that was the right thing to do. She says she wants to run away with him, and Zach buys it hook, line, sinker, until he wants to kill Scott. Okay, I've got Abby, but Scott does not need to live. I hate this guy. I have always felt like he wants my girlfriend. So he was ready to blow Scott away right then and there. But Abby insists that Zach should let Scott live. She will not forgive him if he does anything to harm Scott. And Zach is ready to go along with it. He says, yeah, fine. I love the actor's delivery. He's like, yeah, fine, but you know what? You're never gonna have her. You've always wanted her, and you'll never have her. And there was this little look, this teeniest, tiniest little look between Abby and Scott. And Zach immediately used his mind reading skills to deduce that Abby and Scott had slept together in the box. I mean, I don't even know how he got that. I never would have guessed it, but Zach did. He knew immediately that something had happened between them, and that blew the whole deal with Abby to smithereens. He is insulting her, telling her that she's no better than the girls that are on his payroll, and that he, you get an immediate sense that the danger level has been upped. And he says to them at the very end of Friday's show, the Friday cliffhanger, he says, you both deserve what you're gonna get. And then bam, the screen goes dark and we hear blam blam, gunshots, darkness. So I don't know how Abby and Scott are going to get out of this. I have no clue. I haven't seen any spoilers. I don't know anything about Monday's show. I guess, theorize that maybe Paul has found them. He did receive a tip, and he has been in hot pursuit as well. So I guess I shouldn't call it hot pursuit. He's been in passive pursuit. So I don't know, maybe Paul is able to come in the room and apprehend Zach before anybody gets hurt. I think something has to happen, because on Monday's the preview for Monday's show, Paul is placing a phone call to Sharon saying there's news about Scott, and separately Paul is placing a phone call to Ashley saying there's news about Abby. So I don't know what the result is going to be. Is there any chance that somebody actually did get shot? Or is there any chance that somebody could get killed? I mean, that would be like a dark horse possibility, but I wonder, that would be a shocking twist if somebody got killed. I just hope that Sharon doesn't share Zach's amazing mind reading skills, take one look at Scott and Abby, realize they slept together, and then kill them both. Back at home, everyone is left wondering where Abby is. Either Zach kidnapped her, or she went willingly? Victoria actually thinks that Abby is going along with Zach, and that she knew all about the sex ring all along. That's a leap. That's a real big leap, Victoria. The fact that Victoria could even think that of Abby shows so little understanding of who she is, so little compassion for her situation, so little respect for the type of human being that she is. I mean, Victoria did bring up the whole thing about Abby pulling this kidnapping stunt with Carmine, which was a nice pull. That was a nice little reference to the fact that Abby has done a little fake kidnapping before, but there's a big gap between a fake kidnapping and having colluded with Zach on a forced underage teenage girl prostitution ring. I mean, that's like from a fake kidnapping to human trafficking gives Abby zero credit, and I'm really surprised that Victoria would be that cold. Like, are we sure that Victoria has recovered from her face poisoning, because she's extra poisonous right now? I mean, on the level of being a viewer, I kind of hate to admit that I love to watch Victoria the most when she's like this. There's just something about how the actress plays that stone cold heart that I just think she's better at it than anybody else on the show, anybody else that I've seen. So there is something about seeing Victoria being so cold that feels right in the wheelhouse. But as a human being, as you know, watching her as a human, it's like I can't believe how absolutely disregarding of her own sister she could possibly be. I also am really not happy with the way Victor is handling this. Why is he giving Victoria carte blanche at Newman Enterprises? I mean, he's making no decisions. He's letting Victoria do all of the dirty work, including issuing a statement that like makes Abby look really bad. Victoria is in business mode. The world now is getting ready to associate her company, her family company, with a sex ring operation. That is, I'll admit, a death nail for the company. And so I understand Victoria wanting to get out in front of it, but to completely slaughter Abby in the process, this press release basically makes it look like Abby could have been involved or Abby was duped into it. I mean, it's like putting out this story to distance Abby from Newman Enterprises instead of maybe trying to, I don't know, like get some sympathy for Abby to help in the search for her. It's just really, really off-putting, I would say, how totally cold Victoria is being. She's done nothing to help Abby. She sends this half-hearted "hope you're okay" text message to Abby's cell phone while all of this is going on, which is way too little too late. It's like I like watching Victoria this way, but it feels like way too far. It feels way too far. I did love the little scene on Friday, though, where Neil confronted Victoria. Neil advised Victoria to take maybe a step back when it comes to this press release story. They hired him to do PR, and he tries to talk to Victor about it, and Victoria really put him in check, saying, "Don't you go over my head talking to my dad about my decisions." I mean, Victor supported her all the way, and Neil just said, "Look, I'm not here to do whatever you want to do. That's not how this works. I'm not just gonna lie to your face. I'm here to tell you what I think. And frankly, Abby is a good person. She deserves to be stood up for, and I don't think that what you did was right." I just really liked the fact that Neil didn't take it. Everybody else seems to just be taking Victoria's crap, and Neil did stand up to her, and he tried really hard to connect with her as a friend, even like looking her in the eyes and saying, "Hey, this is me. We've known each other. Like, I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm trying to help you do the right thing." And she just snapped back. She has this whole mentality I thought was weird about how she's just doing everything she can to save the business. If I were a man, no one would think twice about these decisions that I'm making. I was like, whoa, where did that even come from? What made you even think of that? That's got, your gender really doesn't have anything to do with this. Abby is your sister. You can run the business and be a sister at the same time. Everybody else is willing to give Abby the benefit of the doubt. Of course, everyone else in the family is saying, even Nikki is telling Victoria, "You're being a little harsh." I mean, everyone wants Abby's safe return. They decide to pony up a reward for information leading to finding her. It was a really good scene of Victor and Jack and the two families, essentially, and Ashley and Nikki and Victoria coming together in Victor's office to figure out what they're going to do. Abby is both a Newman and an Abbott, and they want to combine their resources to help her, yet there is all kinds of juicy drama between those two families that you got to navigate around. It was funny that Jack and Victor got into a little bit of a peeing contest about their reward money. Victor says he's going to toss down $5 million toward the reward money, and Jack is like, "Well, I guess then I have to match it." I'm surprised that Jack didn't say, "Yeah, well, I'll put down $5 million and one." So right as Victor is getting ready to move the funds to offer the reward money, the FBI lets themselves on into Victor's office, lets him know that they are seizing Newman computers, they are seizing Newman assets, due to the fact that there is now an open investigation on Newman's involvement in human trafficking. Yikes! Total nightmare for Newman Enterprises, for the company. I mean, Victor is definitely trying to wield his power around. He was threatening Paul, threatening to sue them if that continues to happen. And all the while, I think Jack is looking a little happy about this whole thing. I did love that the FBI came into Victor's office as they were all there, and Jack looked a little happy to see Victor get served with a warrant. Jack should also be happy that it's not his butt in the hot seat. Didn't Jack almost fund design date? I'd say he dodged a bullet there. Come on, Nikki. It's just a little knife wound. A minor flesh wound. Victoria, we don't need to call an ambulance over this. Does anyone have some dental floss? We will stitch her up. She'll be just fine. The big dramatic moment at the end of last Friday's show where Nikki gets stabbed. Don't worry, you guys. She's totally fine. She is going to go see a plastic surgeon. You will never even be able to tell that it ever happened. Oh, Dina. Genoa City's knife-wielding, I guess, a scary old crazy lady. We just need to get her a couple of cats now, and she can be the crazy old cat lady of Genoa City. Paul was more diligent in looking for Dina this week than for the sex ringleader. Paul was completely focused on bringing in Dina for the crime of stabbing Nikki with a butter knife. All the while, Scott's doing his and the FBI's job tracking down Zach. So apparently, Dina stabbed Nikki, and then she ran out to the parking deck, and she decided to hide in the backseat of a random car, which just so happened to be Zach's car. And Dina was, unbeknownst to the audience, in the back seat the entire time that Zach and Abby were driving, and arguing. Yet Dina had no idea. She was in the back seat, hiding from the cops, knowing she needed to get away. She needed to be on the lam. Yet she had no idea, when questioned, who the people in the front seat of the car were. She did not recognize the voice of her own granddaughter at all. So as soon as they pulled up to the storage facility and got out, Dina just hightailed it out of the car, went, I guess, along to the side of the road. She was picked up by the police, carted back to Genoa City. Paul arrests her, but she's instantly out on bail and in a not so comfortable ankle bracelet monitor. She's out on, I don't know what they call it. It can't be house arrest because she's still moving around town, but she's got her ankle bracelet monitor, which I think she would find more comfortable if perhaps it were diamond studded. I would be willing to work with Dina to help her make her ankle bracelet a little more fabulous. You gotta own it, right? You gotta like accessorize it. Just pretend it's a beautiful bracelet. It's a new thing. She could market it. She could sell them. Dina also goes to the hospital for her post-stroke care. They did some tests there, which I kind of wonder if we're going to see the results of next week. Dina did have another run-in with Nikki at the hospital. Dina's there to get checked out while Nikki's there nursing her knife wound. And the two women have yet another run-in. Dina tells Nikki, you deserved exactly what you got. And once again, Nikki just calls her an old bitch. I mean, it's like these two people hate each other, and Nikki has got to wonder where this all came from. Like, she's got to be blown away by this. Sure, Dina doesn't like her, but it escalated kind of dramatically. And it's a symptom of Dina's personality changes. Dina's experiencing wild personality changes that are totally not due to YNR's new head writer. They're totally due to the Alzheimer's. Dina goes from being loving and sweet to being like impetuous and very irritable with everyone and even childish. Seeing her act that way is very difficult, and seeing her treated accordingly is very difficult. I will agree, Dina's become hard to manage, but in a way it seems like everyone is handling her like a child now. She's just been reduced to this crazy old lady. Like, Dina was in the car with Abby and Zach. She had information that, would have led the police to Abby and Zach, yet no one was really giving much credence to what she said. I mean, granted, it would have been buried. You really would have had to have a conversation with her, and and as you get older, you're not as sharp as you once were. So I could see not completely picking up on her clues, but she mentions that she went into the roadside. It was not on the roadside. It was into the roadside. It was very like David Lynch. I don't know. There was just something like, I don't know. I felt like she was going to go into this other dimension or something, going into the roadside. Of course, that ended up being a very, very important clue, but nobody really thinks much of it until Sharon starts having a conversation with Dina and pushes Paul to do his job, talk to her, and Paul's able to draw out of Dina that she was actually at a place called Roadside. This is actually ends up being the name of the storage facility where Zach took Abby. And out of nowhere, Dina also remembers that Zach and Abby were the voices that she heard in the front seat of the car. It is, okay, I'm not going to keep looking for reality because it's all coming on very fast, very, very fast. The situation is becoming untenable. Jack knows it. He decides to order a doctor's evaluation. So a doctor comes to the house, evaluates Dina, does a series of mental tests with her. Like, I mean, for crying out loud, it was like count backwards from 7. I couldn't do that. I was like trying to follow along with these tests, and I couldn't do it. And then there was 3 words that she had to remember and then repeat way later on down the road by surprise. I didn't get that either. I did not pass the Alzheimer's test, but I would have passed the clock drawing test. There was the doctor asked Dina to draw a clock and all the numbers around the face, and Jack takes like one look at the drawing and he immediately tells her to stop, kicks the doctor out of the house, and just, I think, is trying to save himself from the reality of the situation. I think Jack saw that Dina was struggling to do something she should have been able to do. I'm sure that being able to place the numbers sequentially around the clock says something about how you're able to process information in the brain. And Jack knows that it's wrong. She should be able to draw this clock. He rips the page out of her hand, kicks the doctor out, and tells her, no more for today, no more for today. And it was very sad. I think that Jack is not wanting to accept what's happening. I think he's trying to save himself from the pain. I think sometimes it's easier to probably ignore it, pretend that it's not happening, and be able to go on with life as normal. I think denial is probably a very natural step in realizing that someone that you love is suffering, and presumably mortally. So Jack is in full denial mode, but Ashley comes in, asks how the test went, sees the drawing of the clock, and has to draw out of Jack that something's really wrong. And if we're honest with ourselves, we know what it is. And Ashley makes Jack say the words that Dina has Alzheimer's disease. This is something I think we've known for a while, and there are mixed reactions on how we all feel about it. Last week I asked you guys if you liked the direction that Dina's story is headed in. 64% of you say no, that you would like to see something different from the character. I think that's very, it's very indicative of the fact that we just like Dina. We don't want to see her suffer. 36% of you found it to be a unique and compelling storyline, and I think that's valid too. I think it's just a matter of, you know, what your outlook is and what you want to see for the show. I just don't think that there's any coming back from this. I mean, at the point where Dina's not able to, I mean, she didn't recognize Abby's voice. That's not, you're not recognizing your own family members, being violent toward Nikki, just overall being very, very flighty. All of this, it's severe. Like, it's not just on, like it's coming on now. Like, she's progressed. This is, I mean, I don't know that much about Alzheimer's, but if she's to the point where she doesn't recognize people, and maybe looking back, that's what we were trying to be presented with in Florida when she didn't really recognize Jack and Ashley, or I don't know. I mean, I think that any way we slice it, these are probably getting to be the ending stages of it, right? I mean, I don't know. Dina she could be here for 5 months, she could be here for 5 years, but there's no getting better. There's no rewriting this. This isn't MS. You know, we can't just let Nikki have a flare-up and then she goes back to being completely fine. Like, Dina has this, and I guess we have to accept it. So I'm like in this process of trying to accept it, and I immediately, it's weird because when I first heard Jack saying that Dina has Alzheimer's, I immediately had this feeling that was similar to when my great-grandmother about 7-8 years ago was diagnosed with lung cancer. And I had this weird problem, I don't know, selfish, I think, reaction to it, where I immediately wanted to close off. Like, knowing that she was going to be gone didn't make me want to, my first reaction was not to want to embrace her more. It was to want to pull away. And I know that's wrong, and that's just me being honest, but I just had this feeling of like, I have to save myself from this pain. And that's kind of how I felt when I first heard this about Dina. Like, I had this immediate reaction of I have to save myself because I don't want to go through this. You know, I don't want to feel this. I'm just going to have to not pay it. I'm just going to have to maybe, you know, love Dina a little less. But throughout the course of being with my grandmother through her final stages, I of course came to the realization that that's not right. You know, that's not the right thing to do. You need to embrace your loved one, and you need to try to spend as much time with them as you can, and to show them that they're loved and appreciated. And I want to do that. I want to take that approach with Dina too. I know it's obviously, I'm aware it's not reality, but you know, I don't want to close myself off from Dina and then miss all of the actress's amazingness. I mean, there still could be so much more to come from her, even though I find this to be a disappointing direction for her story too. So I guess I'm just gonna be over here trying to go through my process of accepting. But the thing, it bothers me though, like kind of the way it's being handled already. Like, sometimes I feel like Dina's condition is being like played for tears, and then sometimes I think it's being played for jokes, like she's being kooky, you know, like it's supposed to be. Like, when Dina popped up out of the back seat of the car, I got a vibe that it was supposed to be kind of kooky, and I wish that they would pick the right tone for dealing with this. Like, if I am gonna have to accept that she's got Alzheimer's, then I need to know that I can just embrace my grief, and I don't want to laugh at it. Jordan is gonna hurt someone. I mean, the obvious person would be Hillary, but he's seeming dangerous to me, and I'm a little worried about Phyllis. This week, Phyllis was at home, and there was this very funny sequence of scenes where Phyllis is trying to drown out the fact that the apartment next door is playing this ridiculously loud and disruptive music while it's going on. It's like so loud that Phyllis can't hear herself think. Jordan walks or stops by her apartment to try to find out if she was involved with Hillary tossing his room last week, finding all that information and exposing teasing him on TV. Jordan wants to know if Phyllis was in on it, and Phyllis plays it off, but Jordan tried to get into her apartment, and I had this sense of danger about it. Am I alone? Was that just me? But I just thought, well, she can hardly hear herself think. I'm sure that no one could hear her scream. Like, she had to stop him from coming in, and I just interpreted it as she kind of got that vibe too. She knows that he's dangerous, so I don't know why. I don't know, maybe he's just trying to work an angle, but part of me just thought, I don't trust this guy. He's starting to seem dangerous to me. There was then a reveal that Billy was the one who rented the apartment next door, and he's been playing all of the loud music and just to get up under her skin. And I thought it was funny. I thought it was cute. I thought it was charming, you know, seeing Phyllis like putting the pillows over her head the entire episode, and then the reveal is that Billy is the one who knows he knows how to get to her, and he's going to do everything he can to get to her. I love the Billy and Phyllis dynamic. I thought that was all very cute, but I wonder if Mal Young is moving us back toward Jack and Phyllis. We had a scene this week where Phyllis was being very supportive of Jack with everything he's going through with Abby. She was the one who approached Hillary to see if she could help get some exposure for Abby's story on Hillary's show, and there was a nice tender moment between those two where Phyllis is telling Jack of course she's there for him, and then you couple that with the fact that Phyllis told Hillary explicitly that she worries that what she and Billy had and have is entirely based on drama, and if you remove the drama from the situation, what do you have? Well, I still think there's a lot for Phyllis and Billy. I mean, I do like Phyllis and Jack, but I'm not ready to get off the Billy and Phyllis train. I mean, what do you have? Hopefully you can at least still have hot sex, right? I think it's genius that Hillary calls her fans bees. The GC Buzz bees. I think it's kind of a cute little play on the word bitch in a way. Like, these are my bees. Does anybody notice that? I mean, YNR never really did this in the past, but the word bitch is in every episode like 5 times now. Maybe I just hear it because it's still a little jarring to me, because I like a strategic and loosely and strategic and maybe sparsely used bitch. You know, I don't particularly like it when they overuse the word or they use it a lot. Maybe I'm a little bit prude or something, but it's just, to me, it's like shocking, I guess, to hear that word so much. But yeah, that's just a side note. But I loved Hillary exposing Jordan live on the air. She's been having all of her listeners and watchers call in with all kinds of tips on everything that Jordan has done in his past, and finally she finds something that's really, really newsworthy. She puts a caller live on the air to tell her story about a scam that Jordan was involved in. The caller, who by the way is voiced by Winona Judd. How great is that? I need to dig more into that story. I like Winona Judd quite a bit, and I wonder if she's a YNR fan and wanted to do it, or if this was just like a gig or something. But anyway, I thought that was cute. And this caller lets Hillary know that she has been scammed by Jordan. Basically, the scam that Jordan's pulling is to find these wealthy older ladies and say he's gonna marry them, get them all the way to the altar, and then a woman shows up at the altar saying she's married to him, and they collectively blackmail the older woman out of her money. Now, the caller happens to have a crazy photo from her wedding day that shows that yes, it is indeed Jordan Wild, aka whatever his other name was, and also the other face in the photo just so happens to be Chelsea. Now, nobody knew that was coming. Chelsea's face plastered all over the Hillary Hour. Not good for Chelsea. I mean, Jordan was already on the road to destruction, but this is new for Chelsea in her life. Chelsea is a really well-known designer now. I mean, this not only affects her life, but it affects her career, her standing in the community. It affects her relationships. It's just totally destroying Chelsea. Hillary didn't mean to do it, but Chelsea is not happy about it. She's going out in public. People are already recognizing her as the other face. Like, this is destroying Chelsea's life. And it's not, Nick is not exactly hiding the fact that he doesn't really trust her now. This is something, a part of her that he didn't know anything about. I mean, I kind of thought that Nick knew about Chelsea's past and that he accepted it, but I can also completely see where he's coming from. I mean, what will Faith think about all of this? JK. I think from Nick's perspective, accepting that someone has a past is a lot easier, you know, with a broad brush stroke than like learning the nitty-gritty details of what exactly they've done. So this is a problem for Nick's relationship with Chelsea, and also, as predicted, Nick does not really need to be involved and associated with a con artist right now, considering the insurance company just called him and let him know that they will not be issuing the money for the underground fire because there is an open arson investigation for which he is the #1 suspect. No surprise there. I think we kind of predicted that. I don't know why. Why is there an open arson investigation? What on earth would make them think that it was arson? Everyone knows that the leading cause of bar fires in the USA is little old ladies. Just one more thought before I move off of the topic of Nick. I seeing how upset that Sharon was about Scott. I don't know how Lauren can seriously blame Sharon for what Scott so obviously willingly did. I mean, Lauren thinks that Scott is in this dangerous situation because Sharon put him up to it. Well, he was off reporting in war-torn countries and getting held for ransom long before he ever met Sharon. I mean, I liked seeing the cat fight between Lauren and Sharon. I thought that was fun, but I also really liked seeing Nick come to Sharon's defense. He came in and kind of softened the situation in his very Nick-like way, and I don't know, I think Sharon and Nick are in a good place right now with their relationship, and I'm really liking it. I mean, they're good friends. They make good friends, even if they're never romantically involved again. These characters have so much history. The actors have so much chemistry, and it's a nice change of pace to just see them taking it easy and supporting each other. At Juliet's funeral, everyone is there to pay their respects to Juliet that they did not pay her in life. You know what? At least Hillary admitted it. I really liked that Hillary sat down, was talking to Kane after the funeral, and said, I regret what I did. I used Juliet as a pawn, and then I tossed her aside when she became inconvenient. I'm glad that she at least said it, because that's the truth. I also think that Hillary and Kane have a really good dynamic. I mean, I don't know if it would necessarily become romantic, much like Nick and Sharon, but I still like seeing their scenes together. I liked that Hillary took it upon herself to call Maddie and said, your dad's not doing so well after the funeral. Can you come? Can you give him some support? And Maddie actually did listen. She took Charlie, and the kids went to go comfort Kane. I think maybe it's time that these kids just quit their school so that they can focus on family and full-time, maybe even get some jobs. Like, this family is constantly in financial stress. Like, can you believe that Victoria decided to cut Lily's salary and her benefits? Oh. Lily is so gonna sleep with your brother now. I'm getting my hands dirty, and I love it. That was last week's Who Said It quote. It was Neil. I thought it was such an odd statement to come from Neil, because Neil is Mr. Clean, and here he is getting his hands dirty. So 10 of you guessed that one right. Congratulations, Diana, Sandra, Tommy, Tanya, Isabel, Ambreen, Jamie, Aaron, Heather, and Henry. Well done. For some reason I wasn't super honed into quotes this week, but I thought this one's okay. You may or may not get it, I'm not sure, but I'll toss it out there. Who said this? I'm an expert in nonverbal communication. Who is an expert in nonverbal communication? If you think you know, you can go to yrchat.com to leave your guess. And if you get it right, I will give you your shout out next week on the chat. Okay, let's dig down into some comments. My daughter just woke up from her nap. Hopefully you can't hear that, so I'm gonna speed through these a little bit, but I got quite a bit, and there was some good feedback this week, specifically about Mal Young. I've been critical of him for the past 2 weeks, and while I think we are little bit by little bit getting better for me and where I want to see the show, but I wanted to toss out some other opinions in support of Mal, because, you know, I mean, not everybody thinks and views things the same way as I do, and not everybody wants the same type of show that I do. I'm sure the trick is just trying to keep the majority of fans happy, but Michael left me a voicemail saying that Mal Young has brought me back to the show. Sally's writing was great, Michael says. I mean, from that Abbott breakfast, honey, to the way she had the Newmans poised back in January last year. But Sally got very boring, very tame. It was ABC family drama to me. Mal Young has got the stakes up, seeing Lauren as a ferocious hellcat. Mal is writing Lauren better than Sally, and Sally created Lauren. Jack and Victor, Nikki, Victor, Ashley, all in Victor's office bickering. Newman versus Abbott match. I loved it on, what was that, Thursday or Friday show. Michael says, I mean, when was the last time you actually saw Ashley and Nikki snapping at each other? It was great. I have to say, I remember that Abbott breakfast. Gosh, I love, if we could combine things a little bit. I wish that at least maybe Kay Alden could have continued to be the storyline consultant or something, and me in the middle would be my help, my dream. But Jamie at yrchat.com says, I know I'm in the minority by liking Mal, but I hope that, you know, that won't be the case for long. The show has had an edgy feel to it that I'm really digging, while also managing to bring the focus back to our core characters, which I love. And an Alzheimer's diagnosis would give Marla Adams a great opportunity to showcase her acting talent and maybe even get a daytime Emmy for it. So there you go. Those those are very good, solid, balanced points in favor of Mal Young. I'm sure he'll hopefully continue to win me over as the weeks go on. Gary left me a voicemail saying, what is better than a vicious, murderous feud based on absolutely nothing? Did you see Dina and Nikki confront each other after Dina got bail? Dina telling Nikki, you got what you deserved, and Nikki calling Dina a crazy old woman. I mean, I do love the catty back and forth between Nikki and Dina, but it's weird. It's like, you're right, it's a murderous feud that's based on pretty much nothing. What, the fact that Nikki's dating Jack, that's it? That's what Dina's so upset about? Oh no, it's the Alzheimer's. Don't forget about that. I also, Gary, keep thinking about your comment. This is constantly ringing in my head when I'm watching Dina, that Mal Young knew that he had a popular character on his hands with Dina, but he has chosen to write this Alzheimer's story anyway. And I think that says something. I mean, by the time Mal had taken over the show, Dina was already a very popular character. So this is a conscious choice on his part. And I can't help thinking that maybe this is just our slow goodbye to Dina. I could see Jack and Ashley coming to terms with the fact that they're going to have to put Dina into a long-term care facility, and maybe that will be the end of the character. I don't like it, but I guess we all gotta go sometime. Justin left me a voicemail and had said that his grandmother had Alzheimer's disease, so when Jack said those 2 words, Alzheimer's disease, Justin said it hit me, and I just became so emotional, and it's just so sad. I mean, they're just, sometimes Y&R will write a story, and for whatever reason, that's what grabs you, and Justin says that's this for him. I don't, Justin, do you think that Y&R is having been through it, Do you think YNR's handling it respectfully? I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one that got the vibe that it seemed like they were trying to make Dina a little kooky, or they're trying to play it a little kooky. I don't know. If they were going to do Alzheimer's, I just think they should take it maybe a little more seriously. I don't know. Mary Ann at yrchat.com says, the only way I can accept the loss of Dina would be for YNR to put Tracy back on contract to be a younger matriarch who can be the rock of the family. She's always had such a good relationship with Abby, and hopefully the new writers can revisit that relationship. I am glad to see they've kept Gloria so far. You know what, Marianne? I think that YNR had this really great opportunity to build up the Abbott family in Dina. So I'm connecting into your comment, because I think that if they must go down this road with Dina, I think that's a really good compromise to bring Tracy on more full-time. And really, I want to feel that. I want to feel that Abbott togetherness. That's YNR, and that's what makes the Abbotts different from the Newmans. The Newmans are always at war, but the Abbotts are always kind of together, and I think that'd be a good alternative. Diana at yrchat.com you're gonna love me this week, because Diana says, I have to say I'm disappointed that Zach will likely be leaving the show now that his secret's been revealed, even though I knew it was coming. He was becoming my guilty pleasure. I would have liked to see him have a change of heart regarding his life of sex trafficking women. He could still be a shady guy, but not anything too criminal, just sneaky enough to keep his character interesting while creating some drama. I thought that he and Abby made a cute looking couple. It could be revealed that Natalia's murder wasn't Zach's doing. Zach could go to prison for a little while and then return as a not so bad man. I really agree. Like, I was really impressed by Zach this week. He turned me around. The actor turned me around, and I think it would be a phenomenal twist if it turned out that Zach did not murder Natalia. That could be. It's possible, not probable, but I think it's possible. Ellen at yrchat.com says, I'm so disappointed that the writers had Scott and Abby sleep together. Scott and Sharon make a good match. Why do they have to screw it up? Scott's PTSD episode made sense, but no one in a state of severe panic wants to have sex. So dumb. Why can't Sharon ever be happy? Speaking of Scott, Lauren needs a hobby. She acts like Scott's in kindergarten. He was ridiculous. It was ridiculous for her to yell at Sharon and tell her to stay away from her son. Good grief. Yeah, if I wasn't so kind of in the back of my head wishing Sharon and Nick would get back together, I'd be more angry about the fact that Sharon and Scott slept together, but or that Abby and Scott slept together, because I don't want to see Sharon get hurt, and as you said, I want to see her be happy. Sandra at yrchat.com says, I'll bet looking foolish that Paul and Sharon are going to become a couple in the new future. Why does Paul run everything by Sharon? There's been a lot of hugging and consoling between them, not to mention the over-the-shoulder stare from Paul at top of the tower. He's always saying how they're so busy and short-handed at the station, yet he has time to go buy Crimson Lights and tell Sharon to stop texting and leaving messages. These people crack me up, but hey, who am I to judge? Wink, wink. First of all, Sharon needs to be deputized after all of this. Sharon needs to become a member of the GCPD. Wouldn't it be interesting if, like, it did actually turned out that Scott did murder Natalia, and then, I don't know, then, well, I guess that, yeah, that breaks up Sharon and Scott, but, I mean, what do you guys think? Could you get behind a Sharon and Paul relationship? I mean, it's not as if women haven't dated the father. It's not as if she hasn't dated the father of someone she's been married to before. Nippy Fan 100 left me a voicemail saying, Victoria acts like she's the smartest one in the family, but we all know if Adam was still alive, Victor would want him to run the company. Even if Nick was there, I think Victor would rather put him in a position over Victoria. I think that's why Victor's so pissed at Nick, because I think he would prefer having one of his boys at the helm of the company. I think that's very true. I think that's true. And that's so astute, too, about Nick and Victor's relationship. At the heart of it, I think Victor does resent Nick for not being the son that wanted to take over the company. So he kind of takes Victoria, and Victoria has done the job very well. And I wonder if maybe in a way Victoria knows that Victor would prefer one of the boys to take over the company, and maybe that connects into the comment that she made about being a woman in a man's world. Aaron on YouTube says, Noah will be running the restaurant at the top of the tower. I love it. I miss seeing everyone working together. You know, Noah did have a conversation with Nick this week where he broke it to him in a way that he is going to be running top of the tower. And he made a good point. You know, Noah said, as I've gotten older, I've had this feeling of separation from my family, and I don't want that. I want to be part of my family. And so that, you know, makes more sense, speaks more to his decision to take the job. Also, that insurance money won't be available, so he didn't have a choice. BOF Animations on YouTube left me a comment regarding the Mariah and Tessa scene at the coffee house, saying, I felt that Tessa was more selfish in that situation. A clean turn down of Mariah would have been more appropriate than wanting to drag her along as a friend, knowing how she felt. They both love each other on different levels, so it was sad to see how each of them were hurting. Stuff like this happens in real life, and it sometimes just can't be helped. I loved that scene because I felt that no one was in the right, yet not in the wrong either. It was what it was. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very, very good point. And you know, I think that it probably would have taken maybe even another level of understanding and maturity on Tessa's part to cut the friendship in order to save the friend in a way. Leslie at yrchat.com says, is it possible that Tessa has been undercover? It would explain her reluctant half rejection of Mariah, but I guess not her being with Noah, unless she's trying to get information on a bigger story involving the underground or Chelsea or something. I'm waiting for a twist around Tessa. She certainly did allude to something more going on with her, and I am waiting to find out what it is. Could you even believe it if Noah happened to be dating two undercover cops, her and Courtney? Oh, and lastly, Simone on Facebook sent me a message saying, I may be the last person on earth to know this, but Kimberlyn Brown, aka Sheila Carter, is running for Congress. Yes, I did know that, and it's crazy to me. I mean, good for her. You go. I am sad that it's probably going to pull her away from Bold and the Beautiful because she's excellent on that. But yeah, Simone says, I thought that it would be part of some storyline, this news, but it's real. I know how into my stories I get, so I know I'm gonna have a hard time separating the woman from the character. I'd be so busy thinking that her policies would be there to put Lauren and Scotty in peril. Okay, everybody, I hope that you enjoyed our chat. Thanks to everybody who left me just such nice comments and support last week when I had a hard week. And to boot, I'm starting to feel sick now. Doesn't that figure? It's like you're out of one frying pan and into a fire. On that note, I gotta go get my daughter out of her frying pan. So if you guys want to call in, leave me some comments. My voicemail is 309-588-4569. Or if you want to go to the website and leave comments there, it's yrchat.com. I hope everybody has a really good Thanksgiving. I'm assuming that we're probably not going to get an episode on Thursday because they usually do the Macy's parade. I could be wrong. Check your local listings. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed for 5 episodes, but I'm going to try to mentally prepare myself for 4. Okay, everybody, have a good week. I love you. Happy Thanksgiving. Have a good one, and I'll see you next Sunday. Bye.